So good. Oh, you made it. Today we're going to be hot packing blueberries and canning them for our winter. So I did this last year because I was so scared that it'll be mush in a jar. But I've been making blueberry cobblers with it ever since, and I'm going to take you along for the process. Before the camera even got rolling, I don't know how I turned to the right page to process berries. And for blueberries, you want to heat in a boiling water for 30 seconds after you wash your blueberries. And then you want to fill your hot jars, cover with hot juice like syrup with a 1/2 inch headspace, and then we're flopping the lid and the ring on. I'm going to steam can them just because I just like using less water and it's quicker. Then we're going to process our pints for 15 minutes. And if you're below 1,000 feet, it is 15 minutes. So you want to look at your chart to see how much processing time you have. And pints and quarts are processed for the same time. All right, let's get to work. Even if you've done this recipe 100 times or any canning recipe, still want to reread your recipe before you start. I still look at green beans or anything I do on a yearly basis, just because Einstein said, why memorize something if you can just look it up? Or I forget what he said, but anyhow, just look it up. And make sure you're using a safe tested recipe and don't rely on just anybody on the internet. I looked up how to properly wash blueberries. They said either with vinegar or baking soda. Vinegar is mainly to keep them lasting longer in the refrigerator, and baking soda was more for getting the pesticides off. And for every 2 cups of water, you want to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Which is probably all what's in here. And we're going to add our blueberries. And then we're going to let them soak for 5 to 10 minutes. Now you want to pick out all the unripe blueberries and the stems. Not the good eats, while you're letting them soak. I bought the blueberries from the local 4-H club who goes and drives the whole way to New Jersey just to pick these up. And unfortunately the blueberries are smaller than normal this year because they didn't get as much rain as they usually do. The blueberries are usually gigantic like this one, most of them, but on average they're like this size. So I'm just thankful I have blueberries because back in April we had a hard freeze and all the pear trees and peaches trees and cherry trees were all in bloom, and Pennsylvania is not going to have any fruit. In fact, they're shipping them from Georgia, and the average cost of a bushel of peaches right now is $86. I can't afford $86 peaches. According to the Complete Guide to Home Canning from the National Center for Food and Preservation, if I even said it right, their chart for using syrups for the fruit recommends that berries be canned in medium syrup. It's 5 1/4 cups of water to 2 1/4 cups of sugar for a 9-pint load of berries. This is to help the fruit retain its flavor, color, and shape. It does not prevent spoiling these fruits. So that's a guide to help with when to use what syrup. Look at the size of this blueberry. It is huge. Before we start processing our blueberries, I want to take a moment and say this video is part of Jarred Up July, hosted by Chris at City Girl Homestead and Angela the Acquisitive Farm Wife. You want to like and comment on this video to increase your chances of winning the grand prize, which is superb lids. Can we say yes, please? Now, for the collaboration, Superb is doing a wonderful deal. They are giving you 25% off your order until July 25th. And if you use Farm25, you'll receive 25% off. And you want to go visit all the other channels collaborating in this collaboration for wonderful content and share them some love. They have jars that are great quality. They're heavy, just like they were back in 1950s. Go check them out. Thank you, Superb, for hosting this collaboration. I've been using them since they came out in 2021. I love their pop lock system, which ensures you have a great seal. They're American-made company, are Anabaptist people, which align with my views of being Anabaptist as well. It's a great company to work with. Thanks, Superb, for hosting this collaboration. Now let's go take care of my blueberries. First, we're going to make our medium syrup, and I'm making a double batch, so that's why it looks like a lot of syrup in there. You just want to make sure the sugars dissolve when you make your syrup. Next, you want to make sure your jars are hot and clean, and make sure there's no chips and cracks in the jars. So I have my counter lined up and ready to go with my blueberry system here. Gotta take a stem out. So we got our washed berries. We got our steam canner filled with our jars getting hot, and we want to make sure they get hot. We've already have this ready to go before we start filling our jars. We got our boiling pot of water, and I have a pot that has a nice colander so we can dip them, time for 30 seconds and pull it out. Then at our canning station over here, I just have a cutting board inside my cookie sheet with my magnetic wand and my debubbler, and I washed my Superb lids, and I hold my rings on my paper towel holder and my jar lifter. And then we have our single burner there with our syrup already dissolved and ready to go with our canning ladle. So now we can fill jars. So I have about enough for 1 pint ready to go in our canner. I need another jar. Who knows, I might need a third. And I'm just simply pouring the syrup over the berries after I've put them in the jars. Want to make sure that you get all the bubbles out. And one would say I'm very diligent in making sure that's a 1/2 inch headspace and wiping my rims with my towel to remove any syrup or sugar that might be sticking to that rim to get a good seal. And when placing the band on, you want to make sure it's just 3 fingers and finger loose. You don't want to buckle the jar, and that's by cranking down the band on the rim. So you just want to loosely make sure that ring is on the flat. So I'm going to continue blanching them and putting them in jars and filling them up with syrup so we get our canner filled. Then as the last one goes into the pot, we're going to put our lid back on and make sure we have it on medium-high heat. And a steam camera works by this gauge, and you want to get it into the green zone for your altitude. So I'm on the outside there because I'm below 1,000 feet. So we'll wait till this comes up to the dark green area, then we'll set our timer for 15 minutes. Alright, the needle is in the zone, so we're going to time it 15 minutes. Okay, our timer is screaming. This 15 minutes is up, so we're going to gently take our lid off and turn the burner off, and we're going to let it sit for 5 minutes. Let it allocate the temperature. Alright, let's see, these lovely blueberries will float because that's what fruit does. It floats. But in a cobbler come winter, when it's snow's flying, you won't mind. You will know it. They make a big thud. That's the great thing about Superb. And you want to sit these on the counter for at least 24 hours before you take the rings off and give them a good washing in vinegar water. Then you want to put it in a cool, dry place and dark. And Superb says that food is good up to 3 years from the time you can it using their products. Oh, you're here. Today, we're going to be hot packing blueberries. That's not. Really? Anything else? Better turn off my phone quick. If you enjoyed this video, may I suggest you watching this next? Stay tuned for more great canning videos and baking and cooking from scratch. I appreciate you and take care. God bless.